A group called Equal Love is beginning a campaign tomorrow designed to secure the right to marriage for gay people and the right to civil partnerships for heterosexual couples. The Rev Sharon Ferguson, a minister in the Metropolitan Community Church of North London, is the chief executive of the lesbian and gay Christian movement and will be playing an active role in the campaign. I asked her why.
Basically, the time is now right to go forward once again and push for proper equality. But on the personal note, for me, marriage is the institution that I wish to engage in. I want to marry my partner and not have a civil partnership. That's partly, I guess, because of my own faith belief that for me marriage is the institution that was ordained by God. So therefore that's the institution that I want.
The difference between the two things is, in practical terms, minimal, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's very little difference at all, but that actually just adds to the argument. As there is such little difference, why do we have the two systems?
So you want to deal with the symbolism in the name, as it were. Is that really the point?
It's not just the symbolism in the name, and obviously names do matter. It's about how people actually understand the whole institution. And the fact of the matter is that when you talk about having a civil partnership, everybody just talks about it as you're getting married anyway.
You say that your own reasons for wanting to get married are largely religious. Those are reasons that churches need to deal with, aren't they, rather than governments?
Well, no, because at the end of the day, marriage is a legal institution, and we need to be able to have legal marriage before it would be possible to have a religious marriage.
But if your church married you, you would be, to all intents and purposes, married, wouldn't you, even though the law would call you in a civil partnership?
Well, the church can't give you a civil partnership. You can go and have a civil partnership in the registry office or wherever, and then you can have somebody perform a blessing service for you. But that's the other point. You know, my faith is not something which is separate from the rest of my life. And yet when it comes to the biggest decision that I'm going to make a commitment to somebody for the rest of my life, I'm told that I have to separate those two.
And why, if you are campaigning essentially for gay people to be allowed to be married, are you also taking on the question of heterosexual people being allowed to enter civil partnerships? Because it's difficult to see why that would ever happen.
Because at the end of the day, it's about equality. And if we have these two systems, and I have absolutely nothing against civil partnerships. I actually think that they are a wonderful thing. It was something which we desperately needed to provide legal protection for lesbian and gay people.
Tell me how you're going about the campaign. What are you actually going to do?
Well, what we've actually got is there are 4 same-sex couples who will be applying for a marriage license, and there are 4 opposite-sex couples who will be applying for civil partnerships. And we're all going to be going along to our respective registry offices to put in those requests over the next few weeks. And then we are expecting, obviously, to be refused. And when we all have our letters of refusal, then our legal representative, Professor Robert Wintermute, will decide how we're going to proceed legally.
Can I finally ask you whether you're at all worried by the fact that quite a lot of gays have had concerns about the campaign? Stonewall, for example, the campaigning group, has really only just come on board behind you and still isn't supporting the idea of civil partnerships for heterosexual people.
The Stonewall was wanting to take time to actually hear from their sponsors to see whether or not this was something which their sponsors wanted them to get behind. And I can understand that. It's now happened that Stonewall do feel that this is something that their supporters want them to work on. And so it's important that we support our heterosexual brothers and sisters in the fight for equality as well. There are some lesbian and gay people who would never want marriage, the same as there are lots of straight people who would never want marriage. And that will be for all sorts of reasons. And they have the right not to have marriage. Nobody is saying that if the law gets changed and we're allowed to get married, nobody is saying that anybody has to.
The Rev Sharon Ferguson.